He's the one and only father of the flying calabash. He's the artist giving life to an age-old African household item, the calabash.
I always put a calabash inside my work because this is the symbol of life. Because that thing for me, that's the beginning of conscience of a human being.
In a career spanning 4 decades, Togolese artist Bamazi Talle has made his mark in the art world, and he's sharing his knowledge and talent with budding African and African-American artists in his adopted home of Columbus, Ohio.
When I came here, a lot of people was asking, where's the Togo? And especially we being colonized by the French, it's like nobody knows Togo. So nobody will show us as an artist. We bring our art, nobody cares because we wasn't part of the design that they want. And here in Ohio also, young artists, African Americans also were suffering because it was no gallery for African American. It was no gallery for the Africans, especially us.
Known as the father of the flying calabash, Talle tells us more about his art and the importance of investing in and embracing art. And if you thought staying up and alert for 24 hours was tough, try playing a game of chess for 60. This is the A55 podcast. I'm Nia Krofi Smatabe. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the A55 podcast. It's great to have you back. I hope you had a stress-free week last week. It's okay if you didn't. Mine was rather eventful, but that's a story for another day. A big shout out to all who continue to rate our show on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Thank you for helping make our show visible to others. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome aboard. Hit the follow or subscribe button and do take a moment to leave a review for us on Apple Podcast or on our social media pages. That's at A55Pod on X and Instagram, and it's A55 Podcast on Facebook. Gertrude Davison Teta has a proverb for us from Ghana.
A healthy person who keeps begging for food is an insult to a generous farmer.
Thanks, Gertrude. If you've ever nursed dreams of becoming an entrepreneur, chances are you've been told to stray from the beaten path or to take the road less traveled. These phrases are meant to challenge us, to get us to think outside the box so we can carve a niche that would make our planned endeavors succeed. But what if there's no beaten path or road to begin with? When Bamazi Talle first visited the United States in the mid-1990s for an exhibition, he soon realized his talent could carry him only to a point. He discovered opportunities for growth and expansion around him, so he decided to learn from the finest art instructors around at the time. Armed with his newfound knowledge, he followed the proverbial yellow brick road to the city of Columbus in the U.S. state of Ohio.
I decided to come to Ohio, my ex-wife and I. So we decided to search. And so when I searched, I found out Ohio, and especially in Columbus, they have a major world-renowned collectors. And I was like, wow, sweetheart, that's where we're going.
In Columbus, Talle set up shop as an artist, but he soon realized that the path in Columbus wasn't only rough, but didn't seem to go as far as he'd hoped. Last month on the podcast, I shared with you statistics from arts and culture journalist Gamali Hamelo's reporting about the record-breaking sales raked in by artists of African descent in 2023. When Talle moved to Columbus, there were hardly any galleries willing to showcase his works, meaning few opportunities for his work to be seen by the public, and even few opportunities for him to earn money for his art. The problem wasn't limited to Talle alone. The galleries at the time weren't showing much interest in works by African and even African-American artists. So, Talle did what had to be done. He set up his own gallery, which doubles as a learning ground for African and African-American artists in the Columbus area. Today, Talle's work sells for thousands of dollars, and he's held exhibitions around the US and in other parts of the world. He is a champion for art education and investment in art. and he joins me shortly to tell us more about his art and his push for Africans to reconsider how they think about art. Talle, thank you very much for joining us on the A55 podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's so
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's start from the beginning so that those who are being introduced to you for the first time will get to know a bit about your background also. So you have been an artist, for a long time.
Yes,
I dare not
almost 4
calculate.
years. 4 years.
Okay. But the interesting thing I discovered when I was doing a bit of research about you was you actually learned from your uncle to
Yes,
become an artist, like as in his apprentice. But
yes,
then you moved on to study architecture.
yes,
And then when you moved to the States, you went to study to become an artist.
yes.
Why switch from art to architecture and back to art?
The architect and building master require a lot of license anytime you move from state in the United States. And so I didn't want to go through this. So I decided, since I was invited in the first time to have a show in the United States with the talent that I have as an artist, I decided just pursue my career as an artist. And that's why I decided to, instead of going and have another degree in the building field, I decided to go as an artist, and get my MFA in the New York Academy.
But someone in your position could have easily said, oh, I learned to be an artist from my uncle when I was much younger. I've been doing it for some time. So since I'm in the US, I can just go ahead and do it. But you decided to go back to school. Why was it important for you to, get an education in arts, and even to the point that you got a master's degree in it?
In the United States, as you know, when you come here with your skill, if even though you can have all the degrees you can have from Africa, they will not consider. They have to feel like they train you on something. They have to feel like you come from them. That's why all foreigners, when they come with all the degrees you have, you got to start from the beginning. And so that's why, since I didn't have any background in terms of art history, I decided to, go to school where I can have a more understanding in art. And so New York Academy was one of the great schools in the United States who will still teach conventional arts, which traditional, where there's a figure that you have to study and know much more. If you do realistic art, it's okay. You will be doing all kind of art if you're skilled in anatomy. So then you can have any type of a form. As an artist in abstract, you cannot become realistic artist, but you can become abstract artist if you're realistic artist. You understand? Because it takes a lot of skill and a lot of understanding to become a realistic artist, and so figure artist. So it's a lot of training, measurement, all that. So that's the reason why I decided to go and learn and know them very well, and what's the story of art, so I can implement in my own art.
So in a sense, it's important for everybody who believes they have the gift to know that it's not just enough to have the gift to be able to paint or draw, but you need to actually learn more.
Yeah.
So that, essentially learn the rules so you can break it to do what you want to do.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I did. Learn the rules, know all that, and then they will embrace you much more. When I finished my degree, I was very more welcome in the society, art society, because I was I was trained in one of the best schools, and so for them it's like, oh wow, okay, he graduated. But honestly, this gift was from the God from the beginning. It wasn't from men. The gift is different. So it's one thing that people have to understand, though. It's two type of artists. The one that is being gifted by God is far way different than one is just trained, went to school for. Each of us have a gift, it's up to you to develop that, So
Mm.
we going to school is just to develop that, just to make sure that those ahead of us, who was there before us, who trained, will give us some pardon, so we can follow and do the best we can as an artist.
That's great advice. And you've learned all this, and after your education in New York, you moved to Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
And one thing you did there, which I admire, is that you opened a gallery called
yeah,
KIACA, I guess.
yeah,
KIACA.
yeah.
It was like a sort of incubator for young African and African American artists. What was the inspiration behind that? Why did you think it was important to create that
First,
gallery?
first when I first came, it was hard for us to get into gallery in the United States. When I came here, was a lot of people was asking, "Where's the Togo?" And especially we being colonized by the French, is like
Hmm.
nobody knows Togo. So so nobody will show us as an artist. We bring our art, nobody cares because we wasn't part of the design that they want. And so being gifted and it being also favored to be able to have this idea to open the gallery. And then another things happened though, because when I first arrived in New York, there's also always dispute between the African American and those that arrive from continent right now.
Hmm.
And so my goal was that through this institution, because it was a nonprofit institution, and so through this institution, I will be able to invite all of those leaders coming from September to UN to invite them to Columbus and also have a show. So what I did is like I will bring African American artists and I will invite any African artists from continent or in diaspora to come to the show. And so showing both those population will go to support each other. And so when they get there, it will be conversation between us. And so that will be the bridge between us where we can have a peace conversation, because the only place in this world that you will go and there's no race there is in the gallery or museum. Because when you go there, it doesn't matter how if you're white or black, because at that point, everybody merge to the piece that they see before them. There's no color at that moment in their head that, oh, he's a black. No, he's white. No, they seen the wonderful creation of the artist. So over there, there's the piece. And here in Ohio also, young artists, African Americans also were suffering because it was no gallery for African American. It was no gallery for Africans, especially us. And so that gallery, it was something that until today, I thank God to allow me, give me this privilege to open the gallery for all of us.
But how have things changed since you set up KIACA to, sort of bring up
Uh,
these other young
when
artists
you
as
come
well?
to, when you come to Columbus also, you will know the upcoming young artists that I first give them the show. They become the very permanent artists here now in town, and they travel everywhere. They're succeeding in their career because I wasn't not just showing their work, but I was also mentoring them. Because when you go for the gallery, it's not just bringing your artwork. No, the artwork have to be very well prepared, and that's what a lot of us didn't know. The gallery, also permanent gallery, didn't want to go deal with these things because when you bring the artwork that is not prepared, you give them more work. So they prefer to go to their own people who really know how to do it. And so I was able, since I was blessed to go to this prestige school, so I learned the game and things from those schools. So I was able to, help them also to get ground and start moving. So wherever they go, they not look down, but they look them at the professional artists who go in there.
What was the one lesson, if you can point to, that you made sure these young artists who came to KIACA learned before they finished their residency or stay with you?
One thing they learn is consistency in art, because it's not everyone. are able to bring a body of work. So what they have learned is they learn how to come out with the body of work. When most of the African American or African come, they kind of like, oh, they do this abstract, they do this realist, they do this flowers, and then pot, and then this. It doesn't work that way. You're gonna come up with a body of work, one team, one things. Everything you see there is relate to each other. When you bring body of work in the gallery, when they come, it doesn't matter where you will see the artwork. You will remember that. Okay, I see this artwork somewhere. You have to remember that. And so that's the things that, and there's a reason why they don't receive them in the galleries, because the work is not consistent. They can be talented that they want, but if you cannot create a body of work that is like a story, yes, you're gonna create a story in the body of work of maybe 100. It start 25 and then 30. You can work on that series for a long time as you want, or one time as me. But I work a different body of work. I finish this, but there's a tally. Anytime you see my piece, it doesn't matter in what form is it's tally, because there's something in that you always see, which is related to tally work.
Yeah, and speaking of consistency and body of work and having like a trademark so that people can know it's you. As we're speaking, I just keep looking behind you at the image of the calabash that you've drawn. You're called the father of the flying calabash. Where did that name come from?
It was the third show that I did in the Columbus Museum. Because of most of my calabash in my work is they flying. You think like they flying. And that's why they said, because I always paint a flying calabash. So therefore, they become my children. So they call them my children. So I'm their father. And that's why the name came from, the father of a flying calabash.
And related to that, I read an article about your son, unfortunately, who passed away. And you said in that article, you spoke about how your son appeared to you about 6 months or so after he passed, and he disappeared, and all that you saw was a suspended calabash in the air. Yeah. Was that also one of the things, or would you say that was one of the defining moments in your career that made you move towards, having calabash feature a lot in your art?
Yeah, no, the calabash always featured in my art, but it just was down. It was on the floor, or somebody using that, or drinking water, or drinking palm wine. But in this particular moment, when when you look at in history, most artists that has come far, very, very far, has also have crossed the pain. I think that was my cross that I have to bear at that moment. And that cross that I was bearing, and when you look at it also as Jesus, when they crucified him, that was he wear the cross, and then it was a moment that he had to arise. And that's the third day that he arise from the death. Mine is the time the God has appeared through my son to left me through my sorrow. Because art, at some point, if you don't understand that art is like a therapy, I use that as a therapy moment. And I was very sad that, nobody want to lose his son. Nobody want to bury his son. Everybody wished that to be buried by his son, but not otherwise. But since I was in that sorrow, he appeared. And through that, he came out, and that's what the fruit that come from him passing away. And, my career just went different way of a flying. And so when you see those flying, everybody think that all is the same calabash. No, it's not same calabash. If you even get close to calabashes, all of them are different. And all of them are named one. It's one name, Dwell. So Dwell 1, Dwell 2, Dwell 2, infinite Dwell that I've been creating. So when you look at them closely, it's a different story. They may be as simple, but my dear friend, no. There's so much story and wisdom and a spiritual outcome that you can come across in my painting right now.
And even the story behind the calabash aside, looking at the image of the calabash that you create, I think I told you this before. It looks like it's either a picture or a 3D rendering of the calabash, but it is something you make.
Yes, yes. Like I said, everything I do, I don't think it was by my power though. The infinite also have to appear. All artists, they don't do by their power. Just like some forces will come to you and bring you some images that you have no idea. When you finish, you'll be like, oh, okay. Sometimes I will sit down and look piece, and I was like, oh, okay, and I'll be scared. One day I'll remember this one. I close the gallery, and I always leave a very tiny light.
Mm.
And when I went to my car, I forget that I left my phone in the studio.
Mm.
And when I came, I opened the door, and I see the flying calabash. I forget that it was my painting. My heart beat. I swear, I thought it was I was like, okay. So, Talle, come on now, it's a painting. I didn't know what was it. So sometimes it's that, and more you look at it, more you close, more you look at it, there's this painting. My friend, sometimes things that you search will come to you. That's yeah. My work is not just this is my soul, my spirit. Everything is there. It's just like powerful. Me being putting myself into that painting all the time, and it takes time. And my work also, I don't do it like I said. Just to get out. I want to do this. I meditate on things, the subject. I write on the subject. I work on it, think about it, pray for it before I start anything I do.
But why the calabash, though? I've been curious to ask you that question. What does it symbolize, or what does it mean for you? I mean, as an African, I know only what it's used for, but as an artist, you definitely will come to it with a different look, a different meaning. What for you? What does the calabash mean?
Calabash. A lot of people have no idea though, that calabashes was the first things that started human development and mind conscience. Before even fire, before even anything, it was a calabash that we was using, and a gourd where we put water to bring it out God. That's it. That's the first thing we think about it, but yet people forget it. And so when you look at my art, you will see everything you need from the beginning of our ancestors. And that's the reason why we African choose to praise our ancestors with the calabash and welcome anybody in the house. If even drinking the calabash himself every day, it's long life, my brother. But a lot of people have no idea today. They just choose other things. They think they're civilized and all that, getting glass and all that. My brother, my calabash, for my ancestors, from the beginning, I stick with it. That's the source. God has given us a lot in the nature that we ignore it today and go in it. We just, go our own without seeing before us what God has left for us to use in terms as a human.
The reason why I asked you what the calabash meant was because during COVID, you were traveling. I think you had an exhibition in Germany, went to Togo, and then you got stuck in Togo because of COVID restrictions.
Yes.
And then the Columbus Monthly did an article about your work that you produced during COVID, and you said that it contained a lot of puzzles. And I saw some of the pictures, and I saw the calabash still featured in there. And so, of course, that's why, first of all, I asked what calabash meant to you as an artist. But the question I want to ask now is, you said it contains some puzzles and that we will find out the answers in time. COVID has been 3-4 years since. Have you been able to decode some of the puzzles that were in your painting yourself, or are they still mysteries to you, even as an artist who creates?
It's a mystery to me. It's a mystery. It's still a mystery. I say the puzzle, and they're enigma puzzles. And so it's a lot of a study that you go, but in doing those studies, just like the guy who invented light bulb, he did it 10,000 mistakes. He said it was mistakes. He didn't even know. But some people come, it wasn't a mistake. They find the things away. So please help me. Let's go find the puzzles ourselves.
But you created the puzzle. How am I
No,
going to help you
that
solve
like
it?
I said, I was a given puzzle to put there. And so
Okay.
therefore we all as human go to for the puzzle. So you're welcome. Anyone who look at my art also is welcome to define the puzzle. We may not find that in our lifetime. I don't know. Maybe some intelligent person will find it. I was only direct to put a puzzle there. And when you look at it, it's flying. Therefore, there's energy there. And the
Hmm.
energy, what is the type of energy? We don't know. And when you look at color have a significance. Any color dwell. Look all that. My friend, you'll find some solution on yourself. I have no idea. I may give you mine, but
Hmm.
it will not be right. I think if you also experience, I think it will be wise for you to say, "Oh yes, I also experienced this, and I get what I want."
Which for me I think is one of the beauty of art, that each of
Yes,
us can look at the same painting or the same thing, but we can all walk away with different understandings and different
that's it.
meanings of what we just
That's
saw.
it. That's
Yeah,
it. That's it. That's it.
great. So
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I mean, we both come from Africa. We know that the arts are important, but unfortunately, not so to our parents. They often don't see us
Yeah.
making money from the arts. So, what advice would you have for parents whose children have expressed interest in arts or want to become artists? What advice would you give to those parents?
You see, we African, we don't copyright. When we go to copy, we copy wrong things. You know, let me say, all our government leaders come to United States, right? When you look at New York, is that New York have a mine of gold? No. Did they have a mine of gas? No. What they have? Art institutions, stores, museums, galleries, and a restaurant. But we have everything there, and we don't even understand that this type of a things is a part of the culture that everybody live. So therefore, again, it start not only the parents, but it also have to start with the government. Government allowing schools and the banks. You see, it's a game though that a lot of people have no idea how it's played in the United States or rich countries. At least the question they should ask themselves: why is somebody gonna take $400 million and buy a piece of art? Why? And then we have a billionaire though in Africa. They don't do that because, of course, it's true. They have no idea what it is. Art is also Ronaldo. You can go to bank and get it. But if the government, you have to also start with the government, allowing banks to be. No, I'm gonna stop that. It's something that I will maybe one day we will talk.
Okay.
It's a long subject, so it's a very very good idea. What I will ask parents is that if a child have a gift to allow them to do, they can be musician, they can be shoemaker. Shoemaker making shoe, but
Mhm.
that shoemaker, they don't know. The child can develop other things and start making true shoes, and it become industry. You can't come to my studio and say you want this piece. This is right behind me is a $50,000 before you get that. It was just now, but in 2 3 years it will be 400 or whatever it may be.
Mm.
But more art, leave more is expensive. And so if I sell 2 3 a month, well, usually, if God bless with that, it's $100,000 a month or more than that. It depends. And I can make a print and sell a print. I can use this one, do other things, make like tags for something. You can use art for a lot of things. Elenachi from Ghana is one of the greatest contemporary artists that we all respect today. Now he has arrived where all African artists dream to arrive. So that's good. And that's what I was telling people, because one of us have to get there for others to see, and that is possible. So when I first opened the gallery, it wasn't a lot of gallery. Now it's a lot of gallery, Africans open their own gallery. They understand. There's a lot of African critics, also curators on Africans and all that. If even here in Columbus Museum, is an African-American Black woman who's director. So today, I think these things are changing. And I think that Africa also will open their eyes on it and know that it's the best thing also for us to invest on it. You see, Ghana is a peaceful country today. Let me say we have at least 10 museums today in Africa, in Ghana. You see how many tourists they will have? Everybody will fly to Ghana because when somebody wants to go to places, why I'm going there for? They say, Ghana have a 10 museum, great museum. Everybody fly there for the vacation. And when they get there, the taxi man, the hotel, the restaurant, the shop, everybody is happy. And that tourism is grow up. Art is the best, the first, if even a ministry that any president should look at it and develop that ministry faster. So we can have a lot of museums because we have a lot of artists right now and we don't know where to put our art. So I think Africa have a future in the art industry.
All right, Talle. Thank you so much for your time with us on the podcast today.
I appreciate you inviting me and all the best for you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more on Talle's work, check our show notes for links to his social media page and the article about his work that was featured in the Columbus Monthly. I've also included a link to his appearance on the U.S. public broadcaster PBS, from which you had a clip at the top of the show. If you're curious about the piece of art I was looking at during our interview, there's a video of it on our social media pages. Coming up, how far are you willing to go in support of a worthy cause? For one Nigerian man, it meant going without sleep for nearly 3 days. Before You Go is next. And before you go, you do know by now that Africa has the world's youngest population, right? Well, since last year, some of these young folks have been, for lack of a better expression, finding ways to stand out from the crowd by getting their names printed in the record books. Nigeria seems to be leading the pack with multiple record attempts, from creating the longest wig to holding the longest interview on television. And those are some of the attempts that didn't flood the news cycle, like the attempts by Nigerian chef Hilda Bassi, who cooked non-stop for over 90 hours, or the Ghanaian entrepreneur Ifua Santewa, who sang for over 100 hours starting on Christmas Eve. But whether they succeeded or not, the folks at Guinness World Records are loving it. As if the record attempts aren't enough, just last week in New York City, Nigerian chess champion and children's education advocate Tunde Onakoya played 60 grueling hours of chess in the cold Times Square against American chess champion Shawn Martinez.
A Nigerian chess champion set a new record tonight in Times Square.
Tunde had set out to play 58 hours of chess, according to the Associated Press, or AP, with the hope of raising $1 million for children's education across Africa. Playing 58 hours would have put him close to 2 hours ahead of the current record, which is held by a Norwegian duo who played for 56 hours, 9 minutes and 37 seconds in 2018. Of course, we are holding our breath for the folks at Guinness World Records to confirm Tunde Martinez's time and to officially declare them the new record holders. But you know how sometimes you hear of certain feats people achieve and you admire it or go like, oh sure, I can do that. But deep down you know you can't. Yeah, this is one of such feats for me. First off, there's no way I'm sitting under a tent in the cold for an hour, let alone 60 hours. And guess what? Per the rules of the record attempt, the players get to take a 5-minute break for every hour of chess played. Just 5 minutes? Really? According to the AP report, Tunde's meal included lots of water and jollof rice. Lots of water sounds like lots of bathroom breaks to me. And where's the bathroom in Times Square? I'm guessing they have to run to a nearby restaurant to pee. And what if there's a long line for the bathroom? That's like too much work for me to do right now. Anyway, thankfully, Tunde didn't seek my advice because I'm sure you can already tell what kind of advice I'd have given him. Anyway, Tunde's efforts did yield some early results. His manager said they raised $22,000 within the first 20 hours. So, what do you do after 3 days of no sleep?
I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, I'm sure there's an after party. Yeah? After party, yeah, why now? Should I just go to bed?
That, or you can party it up with other Niger people and supporters in the cold morning hours in New York City's Times Square.
You know, in the 60 hours tonight, I want y'all to sing this one like you mean it.
And just in case you're wondering if there's some prize money for those who break these records, the simple answer is no. But it certainly hasn't stopped other Nigerians from attempting to break records. Nigeria's Oluwatobi Kufeji sang from July 5 to 13, but guess what? His attempt was not certified due to lost video evidence. Good grief! And oh, did you know there was a laundry attempt too? Yeah, a student from the Obafemi Awolowo University hand-washed clothes for 50 hours straight. Phew. Seems to me the Nigerians really mean it when they say Naija no dey carry last. Anyway, that's our show for today. A big thank you to Bamazi Talle for joining us on the show. Special thanks to Letitia Barboza and to my producer Gertrude Davison Tete and my social media coordinator Bright Dra. More news and trivia from Africa is available on our social media pages. I'm Nia Krofi Smatabe. Stay safe and we'll talk soon.